This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. For this is the day that the Lord has made. Alleluia, alleluia.
A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For one believes with the heart and so is justified, and one confesses with the mouth and so is saved. The scripture says, no one who believes in him will be put to shame. There is no distinction between Jew and Greek. The same Lord is Lord of all, enriching all who call upon him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how can they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone to preach? And how can people preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news. But not everyone has heeded the good news. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed what was heard from us? Thus, faith comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes through the word of Christ. But I ask, did they not hear? Certainly they did. For their voice has gone forth to all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
The law of the Lord is perfect, refreshing the soul. The decree of the Lord is trustworthy, giving wisdom to the simple.
The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
The precepts of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The command of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eye.
The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are true, all of them just.
The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
They are more precious than gold, than a heap of purest gold, sweeter also than syrup, or honey from the comb.
The judgments of the Lord are true, and all of them are just.
Alleluia, alleluia.
Alleluia, alleluia.
Come after me, says the Lord, and I will make you fishers of men.
Alleluia, alleluia.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
As Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who he called Peter, and his brother Andrew, casting a net into the sea. They were fishermen. He said to them, "Come after me, and I will make you fishers of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. He walked along, and he also saw two other brothers, James the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. And they were in a boat, and their father Zebedee mending their nets. He called them, and immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
As we honor Andrew today on his feast day, and it's the last day of the liturgical year, this afternoon at the vigil we start the first Sunday of Advent. And so we have an opportunity to think of Andrew and the role that he played in the story of Jesus. And we know a lot of it is just folklore, hearsay. It's not inspired scripture. Today it is, we'll hear about him, but other stories about Andrew. But down through the ages, they have informed us that he was Peter's older brother. So his younger brother became the first pope, Peter. And we see the calling of Peter and Andrew today, as well as James and John. And every time I read this, I think, according to the scripture, what Matthew has recorded for us, the calling of the disciples, there doesn't appear to be any disputation. Jesus come follow me, and they just no debate, no argument. They just drop their nets. Now, I taught in high school and asked the students, which can be dangerous, but I asked the students, why do you think there was just no hesitation whatsoever? And of course, you'll always run into the student every year that will say they didn't like fishing, they were lazy, and they just wanted to get a day out of work, like when there was a funeral in the parish, and I needed an altar server. They loved it. They got out of class and went to serve a funeral mass. But we know that there had to be something very attractive about Jesus that got them to let go of their livelihood and family and follow him. And I'm sure that the family did not appreciate it, and many friends did not appreciate it. In other words, it's good for us to remember it was not easy for Andrew, let alone Peter, James, and John. It was not easy for them to change their life and follow Jesus. And most endured great suffering. We know Peter was crucified, and also Andrew. We're told, again, folklore reminds us and tells us the story handed down generation after generation, that Andrew hung upon the wood of the cross himself, and it took me 2 days he hung upon the wood of the cross till he died. And so as we identify, because let's face it, even though at infancy, for most of us, if we're not baptized as adults, even in our infancy when we're baptized, sooner or later, we come to a time in our life where we make a conscious decision to follow him or not to follow him. And then, if we're human, and God certainly understands it, we follow him sometimes with unconscious conditions. I'll follow you, but I'll not love my enemy. But I'll follow you, okay? Or I'll follow you, but because some of the teachings of Jesus are very difficult and very challenging. And we believe in him, we love him, we're grateful, but it wasn't easy for Andrew to follow, and it's not easy for us to follow. But some empowered Andrew to endure the suffering that he endured. And it was the grace of God that was given to him that he could do it. And we know as well that we can do it as well, thanks to God's grace. If we ask for it, if we open our hearts to receive the grace of God, we can be given the power to and the wisdom to realize that it is not crazy to love your enemy and those who persecute you, to forgive those who have hurt you, to open your heart even wider to the stranger, because the grace given to us allows us to realize that the way of Jesus is truly truth and wisdom, and has very little to do with academic credentials or our possessions. The person who truly is wise will drop everything. Follow Jesus, trust in him, and be given the courage, the grace, whatever it takes to do what Jesus asks of us. Please now let us stand and pray.